Welcome viewers to the Personal Injury Law Show. We're into our 7th series of the show. My name's Tony Carbone, personal injury lawyer of 25 years experience. Next to me I've got John Carantzis, accredited specialist. How are you, John?
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, viewers.
Just to remind the viewers, what's an accredited specialist?
Accredited specialist with the Law Institute of Victoria, Tony, in personal injury law.
How many of those are there, John?
There's not many around. It's a very tough criterion to be done there, but however...
And also we've got Nuncio Tate, an expert in public liability law.
Good evening, John. How are you?
It's something to aspire to, Nunc.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting area and it's all good.
It's all good. But Tony, what's in the news this evening?
Tonight we're going to be doing worksite accidents and building site accidents, and what's been in the news is the accidents, serious accidents on work sites. Recently a man died in South Bank when the pole driver that he was working on collapsed, crushing him, whereby he sustained major injuries. The WorkSafe investigators and also police cordoned off the area so they could collate information to see if there's any basis to prosecute the company involved. Now, John, this is pretty tragic.
It's a shocking tragedy, Tony. It looks like, well, WorkSafe will be investigating the accident. The occupier, as in whoever controlled the site, is responsible, and also the employer, Tony, and maybe
the company that's in charge of the actual safety on the site, the overall responsibility.
Exactly.
But what's surprising to me, Nuncio, is that a pole driver, it's a massive engineering piece of equipment. And it's surprising that no one else died or there was no other major injuries.
Tony, it may not have been stable. That pole driver.
They generally move with the dirt, and so stabilisers have got to be...
They're portable, and the dirt could have shifted. Again, even the person or the company that's controlling that pole driver, they're responsible
and
too,
no
aren't
doubt
they?
the family and the victim's family is going to have some considerable rights there.
Well, there's common law entitlements, and also there's the death benefit there also, Tony.
Look, it's just sad that something like this happens, and it happens on a regular basis. The other thing...
Well, Tony, just an interesting note, it's the 9th Victorian death this year, so look, it happens regularly, unfortunately, and something we've got to be aware of.
And that's 9 deaths too many, viewers. The other one that I wanted to highlight is that there seems to be a lot of accidents involving angle grinders. What are they, John?
Angle grinders, they're pretty cheap these days to buy, Tony. They're used in the backyard by tradies, the people in the backyard these days, and you can just really cut pieces of wood with them, Tony. You can cut anything with it. Well, and that's the problem. It's a dangerous weapon, isn't it, Tony?
It is. In this particular example, a 67-year-old man sliced his leg, and he sliced his ankle. Now, it's amazing, once you get an injury like that, it's hard to recover because they're really drastic, aren't they?
Oh, their future capacity is almost shot. It's dramatic effects.
And also these angle grinders, a lot of the covers that they have, they're not sufficient, are they, Tony?
No. I think there's got to be more education, I guess, in terms of how you use these pieces of equipment, and also perhaps not sold to every man and his dog.
Well,
I think
that's the problem. They're so readily available now, aren't they, Tony?
There should be education. You just can't give someone a gun with bullets and say, don't shoot anyone. Yeah. I guess it's the same with these pieces of equipment where people think they can do anything, and if you don't have the expertise, you generally miss out on just basic things and basic safety. Look, let's get to the topic, which is the subject of our discussion. In the construction industry, that is one of the highest risk industries in Australia. The national statistics in 2006 and 7 showed that there was 14,120 serious injuries throughout Australia. That is people sustaining major injuries on the work sites, and also when we talk about serious injuries, these are people that probably never get back to work, very debilitating injuries, and also you have a situation where the families are obviously affected, spouses and children.
Back injuries, amputations,
deaths,
shoulders, deaths, all these type of injuries, Tony.
But the one good thing about the building industry and also people working in that area is that they've got some they've got benefits that are better than most other industries. They've got total and permanent disability coverage under their superannuation policies. generally with CBus. They've also got IncoLink, which is another benefit that was introduced at the time when the common law changed. And
Yeah.
what's the major benefit there?
Oh, look, there it's an insurance component, and so they're quite lucrative in terms of the compensation available to you. And look, and deservedly they should be, considering the extent and the damage that can be sustained in these building sites. So it's justifiable in that regard.
Yeah, and what happens is, one of the benefits you get is a top up on your weekly payments of compensation in the second year. If you've been on payments for 2 years, you can go for a lump sum benefit, generally $250 if you've got dependents, and $150,000 if you've got no dependents. So it's a pretty big benefit. Look, the first case I want to look at is Ian Allo and B&A Automation Electrical Services Proprietary Limited. It's a fellow that fell off a roof, fell through a skylight. Nuncio, do you want to give us the basic facts?
Yeah, no worries. Look, it was a case in which the plaintiff or the worker in this regard was working for his son's company, maintaining and also installing air conditioners. On this particular day, he was at the Colac Performing Arts Centre, which was occupied by the local council. And look, this building has a split level, and he was at the top level, and in coming down to the lower level, he fell through the skylight and suffered dramatic injuries to both the head and also his back. So it was a nasty incident, Tony.
Is there anything else you want to add to the facts, John?
Well, he's the plaintiff was 67 years of age.
65, yeah.
65, Tony. This case was in the Supreme Court of Victoria. Justice Forrest, Tony. We've got a situation where he's working and he's fallen through the roof.
The skylight.
The skylight.
Look, let
on
me
the
add a
roof.
couple more facts to it. In this particular case, the roof was split level with a raised and lower roof. At the time of the accident, there were no walkways, temporary or permanent. There was no handrails. The roof was constructed of clip block, which means that there are raised ribs, which pose a potential tripping hazard to those walking on the roof. There's no ladder or steps provided. There's no safe access from the lower roof to the raised roof. There's no anchor points or harnesses. No fixing points for ladders to be secured from the ground to the lower roof. So in effect, there was nothing done to ensure that people going up and down a roof were safe. They were left to their own devices in terms of trying to get up and down the roofs. And when you've got these split levels with the clip blocks, the risk is so much higher because there's so many things to trip on.
Exactly right.
Now,
Tony, he's fallen through the roof. He's he's injured his back and head. Spent 11 days in hospital.
massive injuries. Lucky to be alive is the way the judge
Sounds like
describes it.
Yeah.
Now, what the judge in this case had to do is the defendants admitted liability because, the whole system was flawed, and the judge had to determine the respective liability of the company that he was working for, his son's company, the council who owned the premises, and the third one was the architect who redesigned the building sometime earlier. Now, the first one we'll go to, John, is the employee, but we'll have to do that after the sponsors break. Viewers, please don't go away. Stick around, we'll be back very shortly. Thank you.